Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manavisham Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Tadamayam Dati Swapadankitam
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri
Padakamalam
Shri Guru
Vaishnavasya Rupam Sagrajatam
Jatam Satrunaikramanatham Tam Jivam
Advaitam Savadhudam
Advaitam
Sahitam
Savadudam
Sajaitam
Parijanasahitam Krishna
Sripada
Chaitanya
Krishna Pada Sagagana
Sri
Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha
Kanvitam
He
cha
Krishna
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 Sindhu
Sindhu
Dinabandhu
Dinabandho
Jagate
Gopesha
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 Gopika
Gopika Kanta Radha
Radha
Namaste
Namostute
Namaste
Tat Kanchana Gaurangi
Gaurangi
Radhe
Radhe
Vrindavaneshwari
Vrindavaneshwari
Vrishabhanu Sute
Nusute
Devi
Devi
Hari
Pranamami
Priye
Hariye
Panchakalpa tarubhyasya
Sindhu
Sindhuvayeva cha
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Vishnavebhyo Namo
Vaishnavebhyo
Namaha
Namo Shri Krishna
Chaitanya
Prabhu
Prabhu
Nityananda
Shri
Nityananda
Shri
Advaita
Shri
Dvaita
Gadadhara
Gadadhara
Shiva
Gadadhara
Shri
Sadhu
Vasadi
Gaura
Srivasadi
Bhakta
Gaura
Vrinda
Bhakta
Vrinda
Vrinda
Hare Krishna
Krishna
Hare
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 Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
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 Rama
Rama
Hare
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 Rama
Rama
Hare
Rama
Rama
Rama Hare
Rama
Hare
Rama Hare
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 Krishna
Hare
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 Krishna Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
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 Rama
Hare
Hare
Rama
Hare
Rama
Hare
Rama Rama
Rama
Rama
Rama
Hare
Rama
Hare
Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
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 Krishna
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 Hare
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 Rama
Rama
Hare
Hare
Rama
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 Hare
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 Hare. Okay. You see my screen? No.
Yes, bro, we can see screen.
No, no. Can you see the
No,
verses?
no,
No.
no.
No problem.
Yeah. Can see now?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
let's start. Narayanam
Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Narottamam
Devim
Devim
Saraswatim
Saraswatim
Vyasam
Vyasam
Tato Jayamudiraye
Mudirayet
Nashtakayeshu
Nashtakayeshu
Bhadreshu
Bhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata
Bhagavata
Sevaya
Sevaya
Bhagavati
Bhagavati
Shloke
Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati
Bhavati
Naistike
Naistiki
Krishnaya
Krishnaya
Vasudevaya
Vasudevaya
Devaki Nandanaya
Nandana
Cha
Cha
Nanda Gopa
Nandagopa
Kumaraya
Kumaraya
Govindaya Namo
Govindaya Namo
Namaha
Namaha Om Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Vasudevaya Om
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Vasudevaya Om
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Okay. So, anyone remembers where we are?
We have to start text 40.
Yeah, good. So we are in the third chapter, text 40. So yeah, no, from now on we'll try to go a little more faster. Probably you should have your own Bhagavatam book or somewhere. So my slides will be more like a picture. So yeah, should thank the Amrita Das Prabhu. So I'm using his slides. So we did last week the imaginary form of no, the Virat Rupa we discussed, and also we discussed about understanding, describing and understanding the various features of the Lord. So the last section of this third chapter talks about the glories of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. All right. Let me. Okay. Can you see my screen now? Yeah. Who wants to read this verse? Kangana Mataji, want to read?
Okay, Prabhuji, I will try to read the Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samitam Uttama Sloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavana Rishiha Nrishyasya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasti Ayanam Mahata. Word for word meanings.
No, I go to translation.
Translation. This scripture named Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the literary incarnation of God, and it is compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God. It is meant for the ultimate good of all the people, and it is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Purport.
Yes.
Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declared that Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is a spotless, sound representation of all Vedic knowledge and history. There are selected histories of great devotees who are in direct contact with the personality of Godhead. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the literary incarnation of Lord Sri Krishna and is therefore non-different from him. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam should be worshipped as respectfully as we worship the Lord. Thereby we can derive the ultimate blessing of the Lord through its careful and patient study. As God is all light, all bliss, and all perfection, so also is Srimad Bhagavatam. We can have all the transcendental light of the Supreme Brahman, Sri Krishna, from the recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam, provided it is received through the medium of the transparent spiritual master. Lord Chaitanya's private secretary, Srila Swarup Damodara Goswami, advised all intending visitors who came to see the Lord at Puri to make a study of the Bhagavatam from the person Bhagavatam. Person Bhagavatam is the self-realized bona fide spiritual master, and through him only one can understand the lessons of Bhagavatam in order to receive the desired result. One can derive from the study of Bhagavatam all benefit that are possible to be derived from the personal presence of the Lord. It carries with it all the transcendental blessing of the Lord Sri Krishna that we can expect from his personal contact.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So as I said, this last section, the 5 verses in this section talks about the glories of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and it also includes the last question of the sages. Right? What is the last question of the sages? Anyone? Out of the 6 questions, last question. After Krishna left this material world, where did Dharma take shelter to?
Yeah.
Shelter. Yes, that was the 6th question. That answer comes in this 43rd verse. Now we are looking at the 40th verse. So, but this section talks about the glories of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So here if you say Idam Bhagavatam Nama, Idam, this book containing the narration of personality of Godhead and his pure devotees. So Bhagavatam has narration about Lord and his devotees. So what it says, it's a Brahma Samitam. That means it's an incarnation of Lord Sri Krishna. And Uttama Sloka Charitam. Uttama Sloka means the personality of Godhead. Charitam means his activities. So this is talking about the activities of the Supreme Lord. Sachara Bhagavan Rishi. So what the meaning giving here? Sachara, compiled by Bhagavan, incarnation of personality of Godhead. Who is that? Srila Vyasadeva. So if you see here, that Vyasadeva is referred to as Bhagavan, right? So there are 2 ways to understand this. One is because he is incarnation of Lord itself. He is a Shakti Aveshavadar, Vyasadeva. Other, we have to refer this with reference to the key Paribhasha Sutra, right? So who is the real Bhagavan? As per the Paribhasha Sutra?
Krishna.
Krishna, yes. That was the 3rd chapter, 20th verse. Eta cha kalahamsa pumsa. Yeah, that verse. So many places, even Narada Muni is said to be Bhagavan. So Paribhasha Sutra has to be referred. So Narada Muni also is said to be another incarnation of the Lord, right? And Nihi Shreyashya. So this is meant for the ultimate good. Logasya. So for the entire, for all people, this Bhagavatam is said to be the ultimate good. And it is Dhyanam Swastham Aniyam Mahat. So it's all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. So this is talking about the glories of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So it's all blissful. It is there. So what the key points in the purport? So the purport, Prabhupada highlights how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke about the importance of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. What did he say? He said Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, in Chaitanya Charitamrita also this comes, that he is the spotless, that Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the spotless sound representation of the Vedic knowledge. So it's a Amala Puran and it is spotless. So there are selected histories of great devotees, in this. So there are so many pastimes of various devotees. It talks about Vidura, it talks about Prahlad Maharaj, it talks about Bali Maharaj, it talks about Durva. So many great personalities is spoken in this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is considered as a literary incarnation of Krishna and is non-different from him. And it should be worshipped with full respect, like how we worship the Lord.
Prabhuji, why is called a spotless sound? Sound being because we hear it?
Yes. The sound vibration, like Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, it's also said to be the transcendental sound vibration. Now this is also similar. It is spotless sound, representative entire Vedic knowledge. Is the essence of the scriptures. And here in the purport, it also talks about two kinds of Bhagavad, right? What are the two kinds of Bhagavats talked here?
Devotee and the book.
Yeah,
Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam.
literary and the devotee. The book Bhagavad and person Bhagavad. So you understand a Bhagavad through a person Bhagavad. Very difficult for us to understand on their own. The kind of absorption is more when we discuss. That's why the study group, every one of us have a Bhagavatam book, but how many times we read it and we try to understand it on our own? It's very difficult. So when we read in a group, through a representative, then our understand is much better. Okay, let's go to the next verse. Anyone wants to read this verse?
I can read, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mata. Yes, Prabhu.
Tad idam grahayamasa sutam atmavatam varam sarva vedeti hasanam saram samudritam. Translation: Sri Vyasadeva delivered it to his son, who is the most respected among the self-realized, after extracting the cream of all Vedic literatures and histories of the universe. Purport: Men with a poor fund of knowledge only accept the history of the world from the time of Buddha, or since 600 BC, and prior to this period all histories mentioned in the scriptures are calculated by them to be only imaginary stories. That is not a fact. All the stories mentioned in the Puranas and Mahabharata, etc., are actual histories not only of this planet but also of millions of other planets within the universe. Sometimes the history of planets beyond this world appear to such men to be unbelievable. But they do not know that different planets are not equal in all respects, and that therefore some of the historical facts derived from other planets do not correspond with the experience of this planet. Considering the different situation of different planets, and also time and circumstances, there is nothing wonderful in the stories of the Puranas, nor are they imaginary. We should always remember the maxim that one man's food is another man's poison. We should not therefore reject the stories and histories of the Puranas as imaginary. The great rishis like Vyasa had no business putting some imaginary stories in their literatures. In the
Okay, just we'll
Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam,
stop here. Prabhu, we'll stop here. We'll just discuss this because it's quite a big purport. Yeah. So what is this verse talking about? So
about
Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is delivered to by Vyasadeva to whom?
his son.
Son.
His son. Who's his son?
Sukadeva Goswami.
Sukadeva Goswami, yes, who is respected amongst the most self-realized. And he said it is said to be the saram, that is the cream of all the Vedic literatures and the histories of the universe. So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says, so Vyasadeva, affectionately fed this Bhagavatam. The children, you feed the children very nicely, right? With nice, you putting ghee and other thing like that. He says all the essence of all the Vedas are like the butter, when the cream comes out. The butter appearing while after churning the yogurt, you get the butter, right? So that butter is the one is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is fed to his son. Who's that? Sukadeva Goswami. So this indicates that Vyasadeva, how nicely he has churned the yogurt and got the butter to feed his son. And his son is said to be Atmavan, that is a self-realized soul. And it is said he was so greedy because of the wonderful taste, he took the entire butter and then he is giving to all of us through preaching it to Parikshit Maharaj. So that's what
Prabhuji,
Vishnu
just
Chakravarti.
one question. But Vyasadev's son, he had already learned all the Bhagavatam in the mother's womb.
Yeah.
So is it something he's learning more or he's
Yeah.
learning the same?
Have you not read the Bhagavatam before?
Yeah.
Have you read? Then why are you sitting here?
Okay.
So
Understand.
that's Bhagavatam is you keep on hearing and you get more and
Yeah.
out of it. Yeah. And
Yeah.
he's already I think we already seen that question the sages asked the same question.
Yeah.
He's already a self-realized person. Why he is to listen to
Yeah.
again
That's
to
what
this?
my question was, why he needs to.
Yes. Because devotees always love to hear stories about Krishna. Always. Haven't you heard Praglad's story? All of
Yeah.
us have heard that. Will you
Yeah.
not hear it again?
Yes, we will.
If
Yeah.
someone, we will hear it. Bali Maharaj story we'll hear. All pastimes we hear, right? So
Yeah.
from different lips we hear, we get different taste out of it. We enjoy the bliss out of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Mataji? Yeah. So Vyasadeva, as you said, he always likes to hear, Sukadeva Goswami. In fact, you are one of your earlier question. He went to the forest just by reciting few verses from Bhagavatam. He brought Sukadeva Goswami going from forest to come and hear Bhagavatam from Vyasadeva. Okay. So here the first passage talks about men with poor fund of knowledge as are only imaginary. Many people today also, if you try to Google something, it will say these are all mythology, these are all myths, right? These are all not myth, they are all happened. It's a epic, Itikasa Puranas. That's why it's put all the stories mentioned in Puranas, Mahabharat are actual histories. And not only on this planet, but in other planets also, these various pastimes are happening. So many people don't believe that. Sometimes the history on this planet, people don't believe it. So they think that even the Puranas, they're considering the different situations of different planets and time and so there is nothing wonderful in the stories of Puranas. They are not imaginary. So the great rishis like Vyasadeva had no business to put imaginary stories. They are not making up stories like all the today's movies and other things. They make up all fictional stories. But these are not imaginary stories. All right, continue, Prabhu. Next passage.
In the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, historical facts selected from the histories of different planets have been depicted. It is therefore accepted by all the spiritual authorities as the Mahapurana. The special significance of these histories is that they are all connected with activities of the Lord in a different time and atmosphere. Srila Sukadev Goswami is the topmost personality of all the self-realized souls, and he accepted this as the subject of studies from his father, Vyasadeva. Srila Vyasadeva is the great authority, and the subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam being so important, he delivered the message first to his great son, Srila Sukadev Goswami. It is compared to the cream of the milk. Vedic literature is like the milk ocean of knowledge. Cream or butter is the most palatable essence of milk, and so also is Srimad Bhagavatam, for it contains all palatable, instructive, and authentic versions of different activities of the Lord and his devotees. There is no gain, however, in accepting the message of Bhagavatam from the unbelievers, atheists, and professional reciters who make a trade of Bhagavatam for the layman. It was delivered to Srila Sukadev Goswami, and he had nothing to do with the Bhagavata business. He did not have to maintain family expenses by such trade. Srimad Bhagavatam should therefore be received from the representative of Sukadev, who must be in the renounced order of life without family encumbrance. Milk is undoubtedly very good and nourishing, but when it is touched by the mouth of a snake, it is no longer nourishing. Rather, it becomes the source of death. Similarly, those who are not strictly in the Vaishnava discipline should not make a business of this Bhagavatam and become a cause of spiritual death for so many hearers. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that this purpose of all the Vedas is to know Him, Lord Krishna, and Srimad Bhagavatam is Lord Sri Krishna Himself in the form of recorded knowledge. Therefore, it is the cream of all the Vedas, and it contains all historical facts of all times in relation with Sri Krishna. It is factually the essence of all histories. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yeah. So, can all of you mention one point in this passage? What is talking about? What is that about Sukadev Goswami?
Self-realized soul.
Yes, he is a self-realized soul. And he heard the subject from his father.
Yes.
And Vyasadeva is the great authority on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Right? And I've already explained about how the butter has been fed to his son. Then there is no gain, however, in accepting message of Bhagavatam from unbelievers, atheistics, and professional reciters. So this is a very important point Prabhupada is trying to make here. So he compares that to if a drop of poison, if the mouth of a snake is touched, or if you in a milk, if you put a drop of poison, if you drink it, then it becomes the source of death. So Prabhupada says that we have to be very careful when hearing the recitation of Bhagavatam. There are so many places, there are saptas and other things goes on. These are all professional speakers. People go there. We have to be very careful in listening to such Bhagavadas who treat this as a commercial business and try to make money out of recitation of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Prabhupada compares it's something like the milk, is touched by the lips of a snake. And such thing, it becomes a spiritual death for such hearers. And he concludes saying that in Bhagavad Gita, Lord says the purpose of all the Vedas is to know Krishna. And in Bhagavatam is nothing but Krishna himself. So that's why from Bhagavad Gita, higher level. So Bhagavad Gita, we try to search for and try to know more about Krishna. When we upgrade yourself to studying Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, It's nothing but Krishna himself in a recorded knowledge form. And it's said to be the cream of all the Vedas. Okay, let's go to the next verse. Ritu Mataji, you want to read this?
Hare Krishna. Satu Shrava Vasimasam Maharajam Parishiktam Prayopashitham Gadaya Paritam Paramba Marishibam. Sukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, in his turn delivered the Bhagavatam to the great emperor Parikshit, who sat surrounded by sages on the banks of Ganges, awaiting death without taking food or drink. Purport. All transcendental messages are received properly in chain of disciplic succession. Disciplic succession is called parampara. Unless, therefore, Bhagavatam or any other Vedic literatures are received through the parampara system, the reception of knowledge is not bona fide. Vyasadeva delivered the message to Sukadeva Goswami, and from Sukadeva Goswami, Suta Goswami received the message. One should therefore receive the message of Bhagavatam from Suta Goswami or from his representative and not from any irrelevant interpreter. Emperor.
Okay, we'll stop here. We'll continue after this. Okay, let's see what is this verse. If you see the first 40th verse spoke about the glories of Bhagavatam. That is, it is the literary incarnation of the Bhagavatam, right? And the last verse it talked about that how Vyasadeva, gave that to his son Sukadeva Goswami. And now this verse is talking about how Sukadeva Goswami delivered Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. So you see the sequence here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Emperor
here
Parikshit.
Sukadeva Goswami spoke Bhagavatam to Parikshit, who was sitting there fasting unto death on the banks of Ganga. See, the situation is also mentioned here. He was awaiting death without taking food or drink. So here Prabhupada writes about how it has to come, how one has to hear the Bhagavatam. It has to come through disciplinic succession, the parampara system. Right? That's what is mentioned in the first paragraph.
Yeah, otherwise it's like a poison bitten by the snake by milk. That's
Yeah.
how he's comparing. Emperor Parikshit received the information of his death in time, and he at once left the kingdom and family and sat down on bank of Ganges to fast till death. All great sages, rishis, philosophers, mystics, etc. went there due to his imperial position. They offered many suggestions about his immediate duty, and at last it was settled that he would hear from Sukadeva Goswami about Lord Krishna. Thus the Bhagavatam was spoken to him. Continue, Prabhu.
Yeah, please continue.
Sripada Shankaracharya, who preached Mayavadi philosophy and stressed the impersonal feature of the Absolute, also recommended that one must take shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, for there is no hope of gaining from debating. Indirectly, Sripada Shankaracharya admitted that what he had preached in flowery grammatical interpretations of the Vedanta Sutra cannot help one at the time of death. At the critical hour of death, one must recite the name of Govinda. This is a recommendation of all great transcendentalists. Sukadeva Goswami had long ago stated the same truth, and at the end of one must remember Narayana. That is the essence of all spiritual activities. In pursuance of this eternal truth, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam was heard by Emperor Parikshit, and it was recited by able Sukadeva Goswami, and both the speaker and the receiver of messages of Bhagavatam were duly delivered by the same medium. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So yeah, this is describing about, the situation in which Sukadeva Goswami delivered Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. Actually, it's coming up. This is just an, prelude, I would say, this verse, because this 19th chapter talks about in details of this in this first canto. So how Parikshit Maharaj, what happens and why he's going to die in a week's time and other things comes over there. So most of you know this, right? So here the important is Parikshit Maharaj is asking at this time. He knows in 7 days he's going to die, and he's asking a question to Sukadeva Goswami. What is the duty of a dying person? What is the duty of a dying person?
To
So
remember Krishna.
that's the deep question he is asking. Yes, and Bhagavatam is recited to him. And Prabhupada summarizes here, right, to remember the Govinda. So at the end of one must remember Narayana. So that's what is highlighted here. Okay. Any other points you want to add here? So here even Prabhupada mentioned about Sripad Sankaracharya, who promulgated, the Mayavadi philosophy. He also recommended that one should take the shelter of lotus feet of Krishna. "43." Yeah, this is an important verse. Anyone wants to read this verse? Prabhu is there. Rushin Prabhu.
कृष्णस्वधामोपगते धर्मज्ञानाधिभिः सह कलौ नष्टदृशामीश पुराणार्को धुनोदितः.
Ditaha.
Translation: This Bhagavad Puran is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Puran. Purport: Lord Sri Krishna has his eternal dham or abode, where he eternally enjoys himself with his eternal associates and paraphernalia, and his eternal abode is a manifestation of his internal energy, whereas the material world is a manifestation of his external energy. When he descends to the material world, he displays himself with all paraphernalia and his internal potency, which is called Atma Maya. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that he descends by his own potency, Atma Maya. His form, name, fame, paraphernalia, abode, etc. are not, therefore, creations of matter. He descends to reclaim the fallen souls and to establish the codes of religion, which are directly enacted by him. Except for God, no one can establish the principles of religion. Either he or a suitable person empowered by him can dictate the codes of religion. Real religion means to know God, our relationship with him and our duties in relation with him, and to know ultimately our destination after leaving this material body. The conditioned souls who are entrapped by the material energy hardly know all these principles of life. Most of them are like animals, engaged in eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. They are mostly engaged in sense enjoyment under the pretension of religiosity, knowledge, or salvation. They are still more blind in the present age of Karo, or Kali Yuga. In the Kali Yuga, the population is just the royal addition of the animals. They have nothing to do with spiritual knowledge or godly religious life. They are so blind that they cannot see anything beyond the jurisdiction of the subtle mind, intelligence, or ego. But they are very much proud of the advancement in knowledge, science, and material prosperity. They can risk their lives to become a dog or hog after leaving their present body, for they have completely lost sight of the ultimate aim of life. The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, appeared before us just a little prior to the beginning of Kali Yuga, and he returned to his eternal home practically at the commencement of Kali Yuga. While he was present, he exhibited everything by his different activities. He spoke the Bhagavad Gita specifically and eradicated the pretentious principles of religiosity. And prior to his departure from this material world, he empowered Sri Vasudev through Narad to compile the messages of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and thus Both the Bhagavad Gita and the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam are like torchbearers for blind people of this age. In other words, if men in this age of Kali want to see the real light of life, they must take to these two books only, and the aim of life will be fulfilled. Bhagavad Gita is the preliminary study of the Bhagavatam, and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the summum bonum of life. Lord Krishna personified. We must therefore accept Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam as the direct representation of Lord Krishna. One who can see Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam can also see Lord Krishna in person. They are identical. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you. So quite a big purport. So this verse is the one which is the answer for the sixth question. So the Bhagavata Purana. So it is like the brilliant sun. So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur writes, no, it is raised. The sun has risen from the Mathura mountain, and the sun is set at Prabhasha. So that's the place from which Krishna left this material world to his abode. So after his departure to his own abode, and he went along with the religion and knowledge. So along with him, Dharma and let's talk here. Dharma and Jnana Saha. So he went with them, knowledge and religion. So persons who have, so what happens now? Person who have lost the vision due to the ignorance in this Kali Yuga, through Bhagavatam, we'll get the light, the lost light of the sun. That's what is mentioned in this verse. So here the Prabhupada highlights, Krishna appears in this world. He descends or he takes avatar by his own potency, by his own internal potency, Atma Maya. He is not like all of us. We descend or we are born in this material world. Just we appear based on our own karma, right? Our own desire and karma, right? What we deserve, we come. But Krishna appears on his own potency. So except for God, no one can establish the religion, principle of religion. The conditioned soul who are trapped in this material energy actually do not know this dharma, these principles of religion. Because we are living like an animal, like eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. That's what we focus on. And it is mostly our focus is on the self-enjoyment, sense and enjoyment. And that is under the pretext of religiosity. And particularly more in this age of Kali Yuga. So Kali Yuga, Prabhupada writes that they are so blind that they cannot see anything beyond the necessity of a body. We can't see anything beyond this body. We don't see what our soul requires, but anything we see is always with a reference to our body. That's what we see. So there's no information about the soul. No, very rarely, if you go ask, many people do not know what is the purpose of life. And they all talk about, in this is one life. We have one life, let's enjoy that. We will not get this. But they don't understand it's only in the form of a human we can able to reach the God. If you are an animal, it's very difficult for you to do any spiritual activities. It's only in the human form. We are lucky enough to be born as a human. But we end up doing what an animal does. That's the problem. So the animal do not know about any spiritual knowledge or religious life. But we are the only people who have the discrimination to know what is material, what is spiritual. But still we are so much attracted to sense gratifications, right? And the best thing is, as Krishna appeared just few thousand years before, the original Swayam Bhagavan. And not only that, in this 20th Yuga, Krishna appeared, it's also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also appeared. And it is said to be this 10,000 year is said to be the golden period for us to go back to Godhead. So that's why here it says, Prabhupada says, he empowered Vyasadeva through Narada. No, that's coming up in the next few chapters. We are going to talk about how Narada Muni inspired Vyasadeva to compile Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So it writes here, Lord Krishna empowered Srila Vyasadeva through Narada to compile the message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And thus both Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam are like torch bearers. Like we are all blind people, do not know which direction to go. We are in the darkness, particularly in Kali Yuga. No, the real light is thrown by these two books, and the aim of life is to fulfill them. So Bhagavad Gita is said to be the preliminary study of the Bhagavatam, and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is Sambandh Bonam of the life of Sri Krishna personified. So we must therefore accept Bhagavatam as a direct representation of Lord Krishna, under whom the Dharma is now taken shelter in Kali Yuga. So one should see Bhagavatam can also see Krishna in person. They are identical. Okay. Last verse of this chapter. Who wants to give a try? Lata Mataji, or want to try?
It's better. I'll try, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Tatra kriya kritya
Kritrayato vipra
pravipya
viprase bhuri tejasha aham cha dyagam tatra nivishta tat anugratat soham va shrashvaya shishami yata adithyama yata mati. Yeah, read the translation.
Translation: O learned Brahmanas, when Sukadeva Goswami recited Bhagavatam there, in the presence of Emperor Parikshit, I heard him with rapt attention, and thus by his mercy I learned the Bhagavatam from that great and powerful sage. Now I shall try to make you hear the very same thing as I learned it from him, as I have realized it. I'll continue, Prabhu.
Yes, please.
Purport. One can certainly see directly the presence of Lord Krishna in the pages of Bhagavatam if one has heard it from a self-realized great soul like Sukadeva Goswami. One cannot, however, learn Bhagavatam from a bogus hired reciter whose aim of life is to earn some money out of such recitation and employ the earning in sex indulgence. No one can learn Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam who is associated with persons engaged in sex life. That is the secret of learning Bhagavatam. Nor can one learn Bhagavatam from one who interprets the text by his mundane scholarship. One has to learn Bhagavatam from the representative of Sukadeva Goswami, and no one else, if one at all wants to see Lord Krishna in the pages. That is the process, and there is no alternative. Suta Goswami is a bona fide representative of Sukadeva Goswami because he wants to present the message which he received from the great learned Brahmana. Sukadeva Goswami presented Bhagavatam as he heard it from his great father, and so also Suta Goswami is presenting Bhagavatam as he heard it from Sukadeva Goswami. Simple hearing is not at all. One must realize the text with proper attention. The word Nivishta means that Suta Goswami drank the juice of Bhagavatam through his ears. That is the real process of receiving Bhagavatam. One should hear with the rapt attention from the real person, and then he can once realize the presence of Lord Krishna in every page. The secret of knowing Bhagavatam is mentioned here. No one can give rapt attention who is not pure in mind. No one can be pure in mind who is not pure in action. No one can be pure in action who is not pure in eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. But somehow or other, if someone hears with rapt attention from the right person at the very beginning, one can assuredly see Lord Sri Krishna in person in the pages of Bhagavatam. That's the, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So, who's speaking this verse?
Sutta Goswami.
Yeah, Sutta Goswami. Sutta Goswami is saying that how he heard the Bhagavatam when Sukadeva Goswami recited it to Parikshit Maharaj. He says how rapt attention he placed. And by his mercy, not just, just by whatever attention we are is very difficult. We need the mercy of the Lord and the spiritual master for us to observe the knowledge. So how he learnt from Bhagavatam, from such powerful sage, and he's saying, now I shall try to make you hear the same thing. Now he's saying to the sages in Nemesharanya, he's saying, now the same thing what I understood, based on how I understood the Bhagavatam, which Sukadeva Goswami told to Parikshit Maharaj, now I will try to give you. That's what this verse, and with this third chapter finishes.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. Like,
Yeah.
so there will be a break of information too, because what we listen, what we understand and send.
Yeah, exactly. How I have realized. Yes. How is realization?
Yeah.
And Sutta Goswami is a great learned person. So, yeah. So we are getting the best. So that's why, we, as I was mentioning to the other Mataji, the same story through different devotees, if you hear, we get more rasas, different taste. They may give a different angle. Right, and here is realized. So, like how Sukadeva Goswami is again realized. So he heard it from Vyasadeva, and that's what Bhagavatam says. Sukha is something like a parrot. Sweet coming out of his lips is more sweeter. We saw that in the third verse of the first chapter. Pibata Bhagavatam Rasam Alayam. Anyone remembers the third chapter? How so sweet this from hearing from Sukadeva Goswami, right? And here the Sutta Goswami heard it when Sukadeva Goswami spoke based on his realization. He is telling that. And the sages are very eager to listen to that. Okay, Mataji, that's what he mentions there. Now I shall try to make you hear. Try. See, he also mentions I will try to make you hear. The very same thing. He's not saying the entire thing. How I realized it. But if you see the glorification, Sutta Goswami, so he is also a great sage.
I think the essence
Okay.
will be the same, even though there's tell
Yeah.
different things, interpretation.
That's why if you see the Bhagavatam, if you see first chapter only talks about the Sutta Goswami telling to Sukadeva Goswami. Now from second chapter onwards, Vyasadeva straight away goes into the situation of how Sukadeva Goswami delivering to Parikshit Maharaj. So the dialogue between Parikshit and Shukadev happens. And within that, and how Maitreya Muni teaches to Vidura. So that's what I said, it is conversation between conversation. It goes on like that. So that that is what is compilation of Vyasadeva. So the first canto is totally a prelude to Bhagavatam, and it gives the taste of what is the Bhagavatam and other things. So the same thing, I don't think Parikshit Maharaj Parikshit Maharaj heard from Sukadev Goswami the glories of Bhagavatam. Because these questions were something different. Now I am a dying person. What is my duty to do? That's how he starts off Bhagavatam with this one. Whereas here, if you say the sages are asking what is good for the people, the first question is what is good for the people, right? So the different narration in the first canto. That's what we have to understand. In fact, now 3 more questions are going to come in the 4th chapter. So we already saw 6 questions by the sages to Sutta Goswami, and he finished answering all these things now. Right? This is the last one. We will go there. We'll try to summarize that. Are we clear? Who was asking? Lata Mataji?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. You are okay with it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Any detailed question, just put in the chat so that
Yeah.
we'll discuss at the end or, or the next class first time.
So, Prabhuji, we can say that the religious has taken shelter on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So, is that mean this last paragraph? This
Yeah,
last
this
4 points?
43 verses that answer. Dharma is taken shelter. After the sun set, what happened? We are a little dark. So that darkness, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is bearing the light for all of us. It is giving us the light. The only hope for us is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam.
Okay, so Dharma has taken shelter on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Yeah, that's the answer.
Yes. Yeah, because if religion has gone, where do I go?
Yeah.
Where do people go? No religiosity. Because Krishna, what he says, why does Krishna appear? To re-establish religion. Now Krishna has gone means what? The religion also has gone. So that's the question the sages are asking. No, religion is also gone. Now who are we to take shelter of? Now he says Bhagavatam is nothing but Krishna himself. Right? So that means religion is there. So you have to take Krishna. Bhagavatam is identical as Krishna. That's what this last section is talking about, right? The 40th verse talked about Krishna and Bhagavatam are identical.
Yeah.
And you have to learn it through parampara system. So the verses keeps coming. So how is the parampara? No, that through Vyasadeva, who's the compiler of this, and how he is getting that through his Guru Narada Muni, the inspiration to write Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And he is the incarnation of Lord himself. He is giving this literary incarnation. So you see the chain of that. Okay, Madani?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
So one can certainly see the presence of Lord Krishna in the pages of Bhagavatam. How we can do? One, if you heard from self-realized great souls like Sukadeva Goswami. We are all trying that. Even Sutta Goswami is saying, now I shall try to make you hear the same thing. So what are our level? We are trying to understand the pages of Bhagavatam and try to see Krishna there. Right? We cannot. I don't think I am a realized souls like Sukadeva Goswami, Sutta Goswami. None of us are. So, but we will try. That's why we are trying to study in a group. Any realization from each one of you shares, and that will inspire one another. So one should not learn Bhagavatam through a bogus hired reciter, just for money's sake. Someone teaching, and they are using that money to indulge in sense gratification. So one has to learn from representative of Sutta Goswami. That's what Prabhupada highlights here. So Sukadeva Goswami presented Bhagavatam as he heard it from the great father. And also through Sutta Goswami is presenting Bhagavatam as he heard it, Sukadeva Goswami. Now we are reading how Srila Prabhupada presents to us. And Prabhupada in his purport, he has referred to many of his acharyas. Like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Narottam Das Thakur, all these acharyas, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, what they have spoken. And he is trying to give that essence in his purports. That's how we understand it. And also very importantly is talked here that how one should hear, Bhagavatam. One should hear with a rapt attention. And then one can realize the presence of Krishna in every page. So that's the secret Prabhupada mentioned. So that rapt attention, who can give? Prabhupada highlights here. He said that one in purity in mind. That's why we should be doing all other devotional service. It's not that anyone can take a Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam book and read and understand, even Bhagavad Gita for that matter. That's why it is said, we have to do a process of some sort of a sadhana, do some chanting, do some devotional service, do some service for the devotees. So this kind of humility and sadhana help her one to understand this literatures. These are all transcendental vibrating literatures, the sound vibrations to understand better. So unless the purity, so through the process of sadhana, one tries to become more pure. And that would help you to absorb this knowledge, this transcendental knowledge. Unless you are in a transcendental mode, how do you absorb? Simple example. You just take a magnet. If you take a magnet and if you take an iron piece, you just think, we all know this, we done, it's a school experiment, right? You just rub the magnet and the iron bar, and after some time the iron bar, if you go touch in some other iron, it is also like a magnet, it also behaves like a magnet. Have you seen that? Isn't it? So that's how. So we have to get the power of the transcendent of the magnet. You have to become transcendent. You have to come into the plane. So the best thing, that's what Prabhupada says, one has to be in the mode of goodness to understand this. You try to do all sort of nonsense and then we try to hear Bhagavatam. How can anyone understand that? So the purity has to happen. How is that coming? Through the process of sadhana. That's what Prabhupada said. Chanting is the process. Purity is the essence. Right? So one can be pure in mind and who is not pure in action. No one can be pure in action and who is not pure in eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. But somehow or the other, if someone hears with rapt attention from the right person, at the very beginning, one can be assured to see the Lord Sri Krishna in the place, in person, in the pages of Bhagavatam. That's how he concludes, Prabhupada concludes this chapter. All right, so we finished 3 chapters. This is the 6 questions of the sages and the answers to the 6 questions. Now, instead of, you guys were asking question or other thing. Now, I'm not going to ask you a question. Now, these 3 chapters, any points of your own realization or your thoughts, anyone can share anything before we go to the 4th chapter. We'll not spend much time, 2 to 3 minutes. Just 1 or 2 points. I can see many people without video, that's fine. But still, you can use your audio to answer this if you have any points. Any realization you got? We read 3 chapters from January. Now we are in May. 4 months, right? More than 4 months.
For me, the very realization was a planetary expansion. Like the God, Krishna is not near anywhere to the material world.
Sorry, I didn't get you. Can you repeat it?
Like the planetary expansion.
Okay.
Like Krishna, Lord Krishna is up topmost and he's not very
okay.
near to material nature, but still we can be connected to him through that was very deep understanding for me went through.
Okay, yeah, very nice. How we can connect to Krishna? Krishna is someone supreme.
Yeah.
But simply by chanting his holy name, we can connect to him.
And that too is not connected to the material world. Garbhodaksha Vishnu is the one who's near to the material world.
Okay.
That's what I learned in here. And then 16 elements was the very nice one, what I realized.
Okay. Anyone else like to share something? Any new understanding? What you had? Yes, Soumya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Sorry, not keeping the video on.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I attend the classes. In general, I would share that the classes are really nice, and I always look forward to every Friday for the Bhagavatam classes and have association. So that's in itself is wonderful experience. So,
Yeah, that's good to come and hear to them. But anything which has triggered any one of you, anything which helped you in increase your sadhana or increase your spiritual life, whether it really helped? Through Bhagavad, I'm not asking through my classes, through what we read.
Mainly realizing that Bhagavatam in itself is Krishna, and in Kali Yuga we need
Yeah.
that. So that is the biggest realization.
Wonderful. Yeah, nice. Thank you. All right. Do anyone else want to share something?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, I think the way it has been structured, also the starting with the verse 1, where it says Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, establishing the supremacy of the Lord, and also it emphasizes more on the purity, or how pure loving devotional service is the most important thing. Ahaituki and aprahita, the most things which one need to always have in his sadhana in order to advance spiritually, and how bhakti is over any material attachments. Although it may take a while, but I think that is how the definition of the pure bhakti has been called out. And also how the hearing from an authorized or bona fide spiritual master and his disciples is very important. And how Parikshit Maharaj established, like just before leaving his body, like he was continuously hearing, as you were mentioning, for almost 7 days. So that itself proves like how important regularly hearing the Bhagavatam from the acharyas and the senior disciples.
Yeah, very nice, Prabhu. So many points. Yes. Yeah, particularly I like that first point, what you mentioned about bhakti, aituki and apapratyahata, right? Yeah. So generally people will talk about, I'm also doing bhakti, I'm also doing puja, I'm also worshipping. But real definition of bhakti is those two terms. It should be unmotivated and uninterrupted. It is not only a bhakti to be done on Friday evening or weekends. Has to be done uninterrupted all days, all time. That's what it is saying. I was just going through some of the questions in the Bhagavad Gita, some module, which talks about what is the beginning of bhakti. Where do we start one with bhakti? So Prabhupada writes in the purport, whatever you do, you continue to do, but do it in the spirit of devotion. That's the starting point for us to do bhakti. And then you understand, you come to a point that our bhakti really, what we are doing is a real bhakti or not. We should start thinking, introspect ourselves. Are we doing it for our self-satisfaction, or it is for the satisfaction of the Lord? So that becomes unmotivated. We do as a service. That's why we talk about Krishna Prem. Ultimately, it's the Prem. So how do we get somewhere? We have to start that, because we have more prema from ourselves. No, we want this, we want that, we want this. So we're all motivated kind of a bhakti we do. So it should be unmotivated and uninterrupted. It's a very key point. Yes. Yes, Rushin Prabhu, you wanted to share something?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So I basically learned that on Shravanam, the Shravanam prasa of Bhakti, and Shravanam and Kirtanam, like chanting the holy names and hearing Harikatha from a bona fide spiritual master or a bona fide source. And the highest perfection is the personality of Godhead. Some Siddhir Haritoshanam. That's the highest perfection in life one can achieve. That's what I basically learned.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I will tell one line.
Yeah.
Like in any religion, if it doesn't contain any love for Krishna, then it is a cheating religion.
Yeah, exactly.
And Bhagavatam is the main, like spotless scripture, and the Lord Krishna is only one supreme Lord. And we have to give service to the Lord and his devotees. And the most important thing is we have to keep practicing Krishna consciousness whole life so that we can remember Krishna at the end of our life. So that's the main goal.
Yeah.
Also, like as we are hearing more and more, there is less attraction towards the material pleasures around.
Yes.
Also, I have seen the compassion increasing day by day, like around everyone around us, like even the smallest insects and animals. Previously, that was not present. I used to use the racket to, the mosquito racket to kill the mosquitoes, but no, I don't do it anymore. So yeah, I make sure I like so like yeah, I think the compassion is increasing day by day also. We know the temporary pleasures have reduced as well. So yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, that's a very good point. Thank you for sharing. Even cockroaches, I take it and drop it in the gutter. I mean, in the street.
True.
We
Yeah.
don't try to kill them. Yeah. So we'll
Prabhuji,
go
I
to
have one
higher
question.
taste.
So due to the rain, here I have some mouse at my home. So what I have to do with them? It's giving trouble.
I have the same too, Mataji.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, we'll take it later.
Prabhu,
Every year they come for certain times and then they disappear. But I don't know, from since 1 month they are still here. They are not going anywhere.
Moth, is it? What is it?
Mouse. It's a red,
Mouse.
small red. Small
Okay,
red.
okay. Yeah.
Prabhuji, those can be, Prabhupada said that if it's for cleanliness purposes, you can kill them.
Exactly.
Because you also have to
Yeah,
keep the
the
house
first
clean.
is if we are cleanly, if it is more clean, I don't think mouse anything will come. In fact, we do also, I mean, pest control we do, especially, right? We do kind of a pest control, but we should avoid directly trying to killing them. You have to take that, that living entities is also another thing. But if it is going to trouble you in some service for Krishna, maybe you are offering prashadam, you are creating free, and it is going to create some nuisance for you in becoming moochi or something. To avoid that, we have to take some action. Right? So you cannot offer something which is rat bitten to the Lord, right? So as Prabhu said, first we have to keep it clean. Yeah. So that we have to avoid such things coming. But if such thing comes, we have to see that it may also increase its population. Then we will be putting in more trouble. Right. So either way, one way is best thing is you can have a trap and then take it and put it somewhere. I don't know if such trap systems are here. In India, we used to do that. Your voice is breaking. Your voice is breaking. Okay. Yeah. All right. No. This break I given for realization, not for questions. So I'm not getting into more details of this.
Going inside it. But they are very clear.
Let's go to So let's go to the next chapter. It is titled Appearance of Narada Muni. So there are around 31 verses in this chapter. So actually, if you see this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam first canto, as I said, you can split into 3 parts. So one is the first chapter up to 14th verse, up to the 12th verse, I could say. Not even 12th verse, up to the 14th verse. It is the first part which talks about 6 questions the sages asked to Sutta Goswami, and now Saunaka Rishi is starting asking some questions to Sutta Goswami up to 14. And then those three questions, that the entire canto talks about those three questions. So what are those three questions is, tell me about the history of Bhagavatam. And second question is, tell me about the Parikshit Maharaj, his birth, activities, and renunciation. And the third question is, how did Sutta Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj meet? Why? See, Parikshit Maharaj is a great emperor, and Sutta Goswami, Sukadeva Goswami, not Sutta Goswami. Sukadeva Goswami is a, what to say, he's a sage. In fact, he goes around like a mad person around with the naked. Such a person, how did they meet? So that are the three questions Saunaka Rishi asks. And the next, up to the 19th chapter of this canto goes with these, based on these three questions. And there are some background stories also in the way it comes. So that's one with this chapter. Now the first one chapter, talk appearance of Narada Muni, is related to how the history of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The fourth chapter and fifth chapter talks about the Bhagavatam, history of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Okay, let's quickly do a revision of 1 to 3 chapters. So the 6 questions are, what is the ultimate good of the people? What is the essence of all scriptures? For what purpose did Krishna appear? So this is the summary of the first 3 chapters. So then it talks about the Purusha Avadars, the adventures, incarnation of the Lord, and then is Leela Avadars. Fifth question, what are the activities of his incarnation? And sixth question, to whom religious principle take shelter after Krishna's disappearance? So the first question answer is, as we discuss right now, that about the devotional service. Second chapter, sixth verse, I think. Yeah, it talks about that. Savai pumsa paro dharma yato bhaktir adoshata ayetuki apatrikata ye atma supradisthiti. So the supreme dharma, one has to get understand it through doing devotion service of the Lord. So once we get the bhakti, the first question and second question related to essence of scripture, both the answers of bhakti. So once we get bhakti, what are the effects of it? We get knowledge, costless knowledge, and we are detached from the world. So like how, right now, Pooja Mataji was mentioning how detachment we are now becoming as we increase. So that shows the measure of how we are, our bhakti, our purity, how it increasing. So it's only reflecting how we are growing in bhakti. So if you are not attached to things, we are trying to see all the living entities also as the children of God. These show that you are growing, you are advancing in Krishna consciousness, right? And ultimately, why one has to do all this bhakti and all? So in the second chapter highlights that one should try to understand what is the goal of life. One, that is to inquire about the absolute truth. So the 3 levels of absolute truth we have seen: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Right? So 3 levels in which to understand. And then once we start doing bhakti, one of the processes to read Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. This is the verse which we keep reading every time. Nashta prayeshu bhadreshu. So by reading Bhagavatam, what is the benefit for a devotee? It says, whatever trouble in the heart, all the suffering goes away. You are completely destroyed and we become closer to the Lord. So we establish a relationship with the Lord. Right? And then third question, what is the purpose of Krishna's appearance? The purpose of Krishna's appearance, for him to reveal his various pastimes. Why to pastimes? We hear his pastimes and we go back to Godhead. So through his pastimes, Krishna is trying to take us back to his spiritual world. He's trying to reclaim us. So we are trying to come into the mode of goodness. So once you are in the pure goodness, Krishna picks you and you are back to the spiritual world. And the fourth question is related to the adventurous pastime. We have seen the 3 levels of Purusha Avadas: Karana Daksha Vishnu, Siro Daksha Vishnu, Garbo Daksha Vishnu, and Siro Daksha Vishnu. So once it is also said Bhagavad Gita, if you understand, this Janma Karma of Krishna's activities, that itself will take you back to Godhead. The fifth question. So what are his incarnations? We have seen various incarnations of Krishna. Around 22 incarnations we have seen in this chapter. And out of all, it says that, this is unlimited incarnation. Sutta Goswami says, I can go on as incarnation. It is something, the rivulets flowing into the inexhaustible source of water. It is like the waves in the ocean. Can we count the waves in the ocean? We can't. So Lord's incarnations are like that. And out of all, he is the fountainhead of all incarnation. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. He is the fountainhead. And the last question is, to whom the religious principle gone to shelter? Now, just now we have seen that verse 43 talks about that Bhagavad Purana, that is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, is nothing like the brilliant as the sun, which has come up after the Lord's disappearance. So that is the light for all the people. This Purana is the light for all the people in the age of Kali. So that's what we finished. And now let's go to the fourth chapter, which already I covered. This we're seeing verse 1 to 13 talks about Saunaka Rishi. If you see the 1 to 3rd chapter, all the questions were directly asked by the sages to Sutta Goswami. Now they have a leader, Saunaka Rishi. Now he is inquiring to Sutta Goswami. Okay, let's go to the first verse. Bhupesh Prabhu, you want to read?
Yes, Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Chapter 4, The Appearance of Shri Narada, Text 1. Vyasa uvacha iti bruvarnam samastuya muninam dirgastrinam vradha kulapati sutam bhavracha shaunako abravit. Translation. Vyasadeva said, on hearing Suta Goswami speak, thus Shaunak Muni, who was the elderly learned leader of all rishis engaged in that prolonged sacrificial ceremony, congratulated Suta Goswami by addressing him as follows. Purport. In a meeting of learned men, when there are congratulations or addresses for the speaker, the qualifications of the congratulator should be as follows. He must be the leader of the house and an elderly man. He must be vastly learned also. Shri Shaunak Rishi had all these qualifications, and thus he stood up to congratulate Shri Suta Goswami when he expressed his desire to present Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam exactly as he learned it from Shukdev Goswami and also realized it personally. Personal realization does not mean that one should, out of vanity, attempt to show one's own learning by trying to surpass the previous acharya. He must have full confidence in the previous acharya, and at the same time, he must realize the subject matter so nicely that he can present the matter for the particular circumstances in a suitable manner. The original purpose of the text must be maintained. No obscure meaning should be screwed out of it, yet it should be presented in an interesting manner for the understanding of the audience. This is called realization. The leader of the assembly, Shaunak, could estimate the value of the speaker, Shri Suta Goswami, simply by his uttering Yathadhitam and Yathamati. And therefore he was very glad to congratulate him in ecstasy. No learned man should be willing to hear a person who does not represent the original acharya. So the speaker and the audience were bona fide in this meeting where Bhagavatam was being recited for the second time. That should be the standard of recitation of Bhagavatam so that real purpose can be served without difficulty. Unless this situation is created, Bhagavatam recitation for extraneous purpose is useless labor for both for the speaker and for the audience. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So what are the points here? So who's speaking this and why is this spoken? Anyone?
What was the question, Prabhuji?
Who's speaking and why this is spoken?
This Vyasa Uvacha. Vyasa Devasa.
Yeah, Vyasa, while compiling, he writes this.
Saunaka Muni is
Saunaka Muni.
Yes.
he is speaking. Welcoming, I think, Sutta Goswami.
Yeah, Vyasadev is talking about Saunaka Muni, who is the leader of all the sages. And he is talking about the qualities of him. So what is his qualities? He is a Kulapati. So he is the leader of the assembly. It is said there are 10,000 plus sages there. So some literatures mention about 88,000 sages under in Naimisharanya. They were there. No, to do the 1,000 years old yajna sacrifice. They all assembled there. And Saunaka Rishi is said to be among the leader of that assembly. And he is said to be Vridha. He is the elderly person and vastly learnt. He is also a vastly learnt person. And then Prabhupada, it says he is congratulating Sutta Goswami, who has now already answered the questions of the sages. So this person is congratulating. And this mentions about this quality of this person, the leader, and he is congratulating this speaker, Sutta Goswami. Right? And here Prabhupada highlights about the realization. So the definition of what is realization, personal realization. Personal realization does not mean one should, out of attempt to show one's learning, try to surpass the previous acharyas. He must have full confidence in the previous acharyas. Because if you see the last verse ended where Sutta Goswami says, I heard from Sukadeva Goswami and I am trying whatever realization I have, I'm trying to tell to you people. That's what he says. Right? So here he highlights that. He says that you should not surpass what your previous acharya, what you thought. You should not think of, I am better my acharyas. I am better than my acharya. I can give more better than my acharyas. So he must have the full confidence in the previous acharya, and same time he must realize the subject matter and present according to the particular situation suitable to the audience. So if you see Sukadeva Goswami, what type of audience were there? There was a situation when a person was just sitting on the deathbed and this is spoken to him. But this is not the same situation in Naimisharanya. Each time there is a different situation. How do we understand? If you take for Bhagavad Gita also, if you see, so where was Bhagavad Gita spoken? It was spoken in a battlefield. People were ready to fight a war, and Bhagavad Gita, a highly spiritual, philosophical subject matter, is spoken before a war. So, what is the connection between a war and a philosophical subject? Right? And how it is applicable for us. That's important. Right? So we are in a different way, in a different battlefield. How we have to apply that? So that way, the concept, the original purpose of the text should be maintained. That's why Prabhupada calls Bhagavad Gita as it is. No obscure meaning should be screwed out of it. Yet it should be presented in an interesting way for the audience to understand. So this is called realization. That's what Prabhupada highlights in the purport. Okay, let's go to the next verse. Who wants to read this verse? They have repeated here my screen, but it's better someone reads from. Jayadharma Prabhu, you want to read?
Sure, Prabhu. Vyasa uvacha iti bruvānam
No,
samstutaya.
this is not the. This is the same 4.1 verse repeated here. You have your book or?
Okay. You want on the right side, Prabhu?
No. I want the verse. The verse is okay. Let me read the verse. Saunaka uvacha suta mahabhaga vadano vatatam vara katam bhagavatam punyam yatyaha bhagavan chukat. Yeah, you can read one on the right side. No, that's why if anyone, yeah, you can read the book. Translation, you read, no, translation also the same thing. No, translation is good. Translation, you can read the translation. On the left side, translation.
Saunaka said, O Suta Goswami, you are the most fortunate and respected of all those who can speak and recite. Please relate the pious message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which was spoken by the great and powerful sage Sukadev Goswami.
Okay, yeah. If you see the first verse is actually Vyasadev speaks about Shaunaka Rishi. He gives the introduction, who is Shaunaka Rishi and how he is congratulating Sutta Goswami. And now this verse, so straight away, next verse talks about how Shaunaka Rishi is now speaking to Sutta Goswami. So there he says Sutta. He repeats the same word twice. Sutta, Mahabhaga. So you are the most fortunate person. So yeah, read this.
It
So this
resembles,
is the key point. Yeah.
that
Shaunaka
resembles
Rishi.
Krishna.
It resembles Krishna.
Krishna
Nice.
Mahabahu is one of
Yeah,
the
that's
prayers which
of
Arjuna
Kunti
calls.
Devi.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, that is Uttara's prayer, I think. Yeah. So Sutta Goswami it is twice addressed herein out of joy because he and the members of the assembly were eager to hear the text of Bhagavatam. So there is kind of a glorification, repeating his name, Sutta. They are excited to hear the Bhagavatam from Sutta Goswami. So Saunakariji is trying to encourage Sukadeva Goswami to try to speak more and more. No, trying to glorify him. Oh, you're speaking so nicely, so keep speaking more about Krishna. So the qualification key, some of the key points in the purports is highlighted here. The qualification of the speaker, it's not the question of education. You know, if you see, Sutta Goswami is not born in a higher class family. He's not upper class family. Actually, he is a mixed class, it is said. Sutta Goswami is from mixed class. He's not from a Brahmana. He's not born from a Brahminical family. But his qualities are Brahminical. So it's not the education, it's not the social position of birth, it's not the wealth of the speaker, but it's eagerness, to talk about Krishna and also how it is received, eagerness to receive. Now, how he absorbed, how Sutta Goswami absorbed the Bhagavatam from Sukadeva Goswami, how he heard, how he assimilated and realized. Purport, only one who is prepared to present Bhagavatam in light of Sukadeva Goswami and only those who are prepared to hear Sukadeva Goswami and represent are bona fide participants in transcendental discussion of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. This is only the essence of the purport. So the question is asked. Next 4.3 is talking about the question. What Shaunaka Rishi is asking Sutta Goswami. So the question is related to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and Vyasadev. Anyone wants to read the verse? The verse is there on the left. Who has not read today? Raman Prabhu, Ray, or Neha Mataji?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah. You want to read, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
अस्मिन् युगे प्रवर्तेयं स्थाने वाकेन हेतुना कुतः कृष्ण कृष्टवां कर्तवां संहितां मुनि. Is that the translation, Prabhuji? Just
Yeah,
below,
that's the translation
below
below.
that?
Yeah.
In what period and at what place was this first begun, and why was this taken up? From where did Krishna, Dvaipayan Vyasa, the great sage, get the inspiration to compile this literature? Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Yeah. So he's asking, now this question, Saunaka Rishi is asking Sutta Goswami. So this Bhagavatam, when it was written, in what period it has begun, in what place it has begun, why this is taken up, from where did Krishna Dvaipana was Vyasa? This Vyasadev's name is Krishna Dvaipana Vyasa, the great sage. How did he get inspired to compile this literature? That's the question Shaunaka Rishi asked. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, because Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the special contribution of Srila Vyasadeva, there are so many enquiries by the learned Shaunaka Muni. It is known to them that Srila Vyasadeva has already explained the text of the Vedas in various ways up to Mahabharata for understanding for less intelligent women, Shudras, and fallen members of the family of twice born men. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is transcendental to all of them because it has nothing to do with anything mundane. So the enquiries are very intelligent and relevant. Okay, so this is the enquiry. Now, question is, when Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, what period it was come, in what place it began, why this was taken up? And verse number 4. Next question he is going to ask. So this question is actually the third question is quoted by very people, but this question is about Sukadeva Goswami. Who else want to read? Hema Mataji, you want to read? Try.
I will try.
Yeah.
Tasya purato mahayogi samatrin nirvikalpaha ekanta madir nirto yidho mudha iva yate.
Yeah. Translation.
His Vyasadeva's son was a great devotee and equibalanced monist whose mind was always concentrated in monism. He was transcendental to mundane activities, but being exposed, he appeared like an ignorant person.
Thank you. So that was the first question was, when was Bhagavatam spoken? And now the next question is asking about Sukadeva Goswami, his son Vyasadeva. So he's talking about Mahayogi. He is a great yogi, Samadrit Nirvikalpaha. He is a equibalanced person. One who is fixed, his mind is fixed, he is absolute monist. So one who is fixed on something, oneness of mind. And Ekantamadi. Ekantamadi really means one whose always mind is always concentrated on monist, on one particular thing. Basically is a Krishna consciousness, on one person. So Unidra, he is transcendental to all mundane activities. And Guto Mudha Ivayate, he is being exposed, he appears ignorant. He is unexposed and appears ignorant. So he's highlighting, so Saunaka Rishi is highlighting the qualities of Sukadeva Goswami and asking about him. He's just questioning who is this Sukadeva Goswami by telling his qualities. He's questioning about Sukadeva Goswami, but he's highlighting his own qualities of Sukadeva Goswami. That he was a liberated soul and he remained alert, not to be trapped in this material world. So tell me about this person, Sukadeva Goswami. Param Prabhu, you want to read this one?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Drishtva.
Drishvanuyantam Rishimatma
Atmajam api.
Drishtvanuyantam Rishimatmajam api anagmam Devyo Hriya Paridadurna Sutasya Chitram Tatvikshya Prachati Munau Jagatustavasti Stripum Vidhana Tu Sutasya Vivikta Drishti. While Srila Vyasadeva was following his son, beautiful young damsels who were bathing naked covered their bodies with cloth, although Sri Vyasadeva himself was not naked. But they had not done so when his son had passed. The sage inquired about this, and the young ladies replied that his son was purified, and when looking at them, made no distinction between male and female. But the sage made such distinctions. Should I read purport, Prabhuji?
Yes, bro.
In the Bhagavad Gita 5.18, it is said that a learned sage looks equally on a learned and gentle Brahmana, a Chandala, dog eater, a dog or a cow due to his spiritual vision. Srila Sukadeva Goswami attained that stage. Thus, he did not see a male or female, he saw all living entities in different dress. The ladies who were bathing could understand the mind of a man simply by studying his demenon, just as by looking at a child one can understand how innocent he is. Sukadev Goswami was a young boy 16 years old, and therefore all the parts of his body were developed. He was naked also, and so were the ladies. But because Sukadev Goswami was transcendental to sex relations, he appeared very innocent. The ladies, by their special qualifications, could sense this at once, and therefore they were not very concerned about him. But when his father passed, the ladies quickly dressed. The ladies were exactly like his children or grandchildren, yet they reacted to the presence of Vyasadeva according to the social custom because Srila Vyasadeva played the part of a householder. A householder has to distinguish between a male and female, otherwise he cannot be a householder. One should therefore attempt to know the distinction between body and soul without any attachment for male and female. As long as such distinction is there, one should not try to become a sannyasi like Sukadev Goswami. At least theoretically, one must be convinced that a living entity is neither male nor female. The outward dress is made of matter by material nature to attract the opposite sex and thus keep one entangled in material existence. A liberated soul is above this perverted distinction. He does not distinguish between one living being and another. For him, they are all one for him, they are all one and the same spirit. The perfection of this spiritual vision is the liberated stage and liberated stage, and Srila Sukadeva Goswami attained that stage. Srila Vyasadeva was also in the transcendental stage, but because he was in the householder life, he did not pretend to be a liberated soul as a matter of custom. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So yeah, this verse is talking about one of the pastimes related to Sukadeva Goswami and Vyasadeva. Right? It is said that when Sukadeva Goswami was going there, lot of women, they were taking bath, in the pond over there, and they were taking bath without any dress or something. But when Sukadeva Goswami was going, passing through them, Sukadeva Goswami is just 16 years old boy, and he is also going in a naked. When he was passing by, these girls did not bother to cover themselves or do anything. They just did not bother. But and they followed Sukadeva Goswami, Vyasadeva was passing. But when he was going there, immediately those girls covered themselves up with all these things. Right? So Sukadeva goes, Vyasadeva felt very, it was very curious to him to find, a young boy is going, you didn't cover anything, but here is an old person, now I am going, but you people are done this covering of all these things. So that's what Prabhupada mentions in the purport. And, it is basically to highlight how, what to say, um, how Sukadeva Goswami is so transcendental. He doesn't distinguish between male and female. He doesn't distinguish between a tree and a human. For him, everything is same. That's this verse is actually to glorify Sukadeva Goswami. How Sukadeva Goswami sees. But it doesn't also mean that Vyasadeva is something bad, like it's not to belittle Vyasadeva, but why the difference in the action of these girls were because Vyasadeva is said to be a householder, right? He is married, so he is able to distinguish between a male and female. So that's the reason this women covered. It did not mean that Vyasadeva is something bad. That's why they're covering up or something like that. But he is able to distinguish between male and female, the things. But whereas for Sukadeva Goswami, he is so much enlightened, he is so much elevated kind of a person, perfectionist, that for him everything is same. Everything is for him is equal. That's what this verse talks about. And further questions about Sukadeva Goswami. Roshan Prabhu, you can read this verse.
Yes, Lord. कथमालक्षित पौरे सम्प्राप्त कुरुजङ्गलान् उन्मत्तमुख जडवद् विचरन् गज साह्वये. Translation. How is he, Srila Shukdev, the son of Vyas, recognized by the citizens when he entered the city of Hastinapur, now Delhi, after wandering the provinces of Kuru and Jangal, appearing like a madman, dumb and retarded? Purport.
Yeah.
The present city
So the
Delhi.
question once again. So this question Saunakrishi is asking. Now when Sukadeva Goswami, went to Hastinapur, that time to how the people understood that he is a great sage. That's the question they're asking. So he's like he appears more like a madman, retarded. He's naked person with long hair, young man going around. So how did people recognize him? But externally he appeared like a madman. Okay, bro. Read the purport.
Purport. The present city of Delhi was formerly known as Hastinapur because it was first established by King Hasti. Goswami Shukdev, after leaving their parental home, was roaming like a madman, and therefore it was very difficult for the citizens to recognize him in his exalted position. A sage is not therefore recognized by his sight, but by hearing. One should approach a sadhu or great sage not to see, but to hear from him. If one is not prepared to hear the words of a sadhu, there is no profit. Shukdev Goswami was a sadhu who could speak on the transcendental activities of the Lord. He did not satisfy the whims of ordinary citizens. He was recognized when he spoke on the subjects of Bhagavatam, and when he attempted jugglery like a magician. He never attempted jugglery like a magician. Outwardly, he appeared to be a retarded, dumb madman, but in fact, he was the most elevated transcendental personality. Hare
Yes.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, outwardly he was looking like that, but then people say when he started speaking, he talks only about the transcendental activities of the Lord. So that's how you can recognize him, the way he speaks Bhagavatam. But outsidely he looks like a dumb, retarded person. And now the question 4.7. Now he is asking question about Parikshit. Katam va pandavasya rajashir muniyo saha samavada sambuddha tata yatrasya satvati shruti. How did it so happen that King Parikshit met this great sage, making it possible for the great transcendental essence of the Vedas? So that's the question now. Now, first they asked about how is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Then they asked about Sukadeva Goswami, about him, how people can understand him. And now they are asking, how is that Parikshit met this Sukadeva Goswami? How did Maharaj Parikshit meet Sukadeva Goswami and hear from him Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam? Then again, next verse is going to talk about Srila Sukadeva Goswami, about him. Now he says, 4.8, Sago dohana matram he gareshu graha medinam avikshate mahabhagas titi kurvam stat ashramam. So he was accustomed to stay at the door of a householder long enough for a cow to be milked, and he did this just to sanctify the residence. So it's talking about sa go dohana. So the dohana, no, go is cow. So dohana means milking a cow. So Sukadeva Goswami doesn't stay at one place. He always keep moving. And how long does he stay in a place? Only for the time taken for someone to milk a cow. How much time does it take to milk a cow? Anyone milked a cow here? Many people may not know this Australian kids where the milk is coming. Right? So it may take half an hour max, to milk a cow, or 40 minutes, 45 minutes. So that is the only time he stays in a place, that too to sanctify the residents, because he will go for some alarm, right? No, as Pichan Degi, he tries to get something from them, but then he sanctifies, he gives spiritual knowledge to them, sanctifies the residents, and he takes some alms from them. So what does Prabhupada says this? So those who are in the renounced order of life and dedicated to measure of preaching the business message of Godhead should learn that they have no business with householders save and except to enlighten them in transcendental knowledge. Such asking for alms from householders should be for the purpose of sanctifying the homes. One who is in renounced order of life should not be alluring by the glamour of householders' worldly possessions, and thus become subservient to the worldly men. For one who is in the renounced order of life, this is much more dangerous than drinking poison and committing suicide. Purport also highlights about Bhakti Siddhanta Goswami Maharaj. Right, we'll do one more verse, we'll finish off with this.
Can I read this,
4.9.
Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu.
Abhimanyu suta prahur bhagavottamam
Ottamam. Yeah.
tasya janma mahascharya karmani cha gruhininaha. It is said that Maharaj Parikshit is a great first-class devotee of the Lord, and that his birth and activities are all wonderful. Please tell us about him.
Okay. So they are asking about Maharaj Parikshit. So what does this picture say? Show the first picture on the left. Parikshit in the womb of the Uttara. How Lord Krishna is saving him from the Brahmahastra of Ashwatthama. That's coming up. That's coming up in the 8th chapter of this canto. And this picture, the one below that, Parikshit is putting the snake on the head of the Samikshis. Because of that only he gets the curse. So on the right side picture says this son Shringi, who's playing there, hears about this, that Parikshit is putting the snake on his father, and he is cursing him that, in 7 days, one snake bird will come and bite him to death. Will we do one more, last one? This question about Maharaj Parikshit. Anyone wants to read? Kangana Mataji.
Read Mataji. I read Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu Mataji.
Samrat kasya hetu pandana mano vardhana Nayukasitu Gandhayam Anaditya Dhira Siddhayam. He was a great emperor and possessed all the opulences of his actual kingdom. He was so exalted that he was sorry, increasing the prestige of the Pandya dynasty. Why did he give up everything to sit down on the bank of the Ganges and fast until death?
Yeah. So the question now here is, why this emperor, is sitting on the benches of Ganga until the fast? So they want to hear the story, the pastimes of that. So Maharaja Parikshit, he was a great emperor. He owned the land, sea, and ocean, very good administrator, and he was coming from the Pandu dynasty, right? The Guru kingdom. So why he is doing that? I'll stop here. It's already 9:04. Any questions you can put in the chat. Okay. All good? Or should we want to continue for summer verses? I'm happy to do, but I don't think after 2 hours I
Prabhu,
do.
I've got a bit of confusion here. So from Narad Muni, Vyasadeva got the information about Bhagavatam. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to his son.
Narada Muni, he inspired Vyasadeva. It's coming up.
So, but when did Vyasadeva write it, Prabhu?
When did Vyasadeva write it? No, we will see that, Mataji. When this is coming. That's the question they are asking, right? That's the question they are asking. When did Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam written?
Oh.
So we have
Because
seen only the question. We have to see the answer now.
Okay, because in the first paragraph, first sloka,
Yeah,
it said that
4.2.
Vyasadeva,
Yeah.
first one he said that Vyasadeva Uvacha, in that he said Suta Goswami. So that's what I got confused there. So he wrote after Suta Goswami.
You have to think, yes. So Vyasadeva is what to say. He can think of what happens in the past, what is happening now, what is happening in the future.
Oh.
He's a Trikala Muni.
Okay. So he wrote it before it happened.
Yeah. Yes, Param Prabhu.
Prabhuji, is it not that he passed on the actual information to Sukadev Goswami, and then Suta Goswami heard, and he passed on to the sages, and after that Vyasadeva wrote it down? Or did he write down before?
Before.
Because Narad Muni, of course, he told him to write it down, but was it first time maybe he wrote down the actual, not the introduction, but the actual main part of the Bhagavatam, and then from there, as they passed it down, he also wrote down the dialogue of between the different sages?
Saying something?
Sorry?